We love sharing these stories with you through the Hiking Through Life podcast, and we're so grateful that you listen to this podcast. If you'd like to support the Hiking Through Life podcast further, we have these amazing new t-shirts and water bottles. The t-shirts come in 4 colors, and the water bottles are perfect for trails, adventuring, or daily use. Consider checking them out at hikingthroughlife.net/shop.
Use the code PODCAST and receive 10% off your first order. This is the Hiking Through Life podcast. We've all been gifted a journey called life. Let's see where the journey leads us today. Welcome to the Hiking Through Life podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Sarah.
And today's journey takes us to Athens, Ohio, where we met up with Tenderfoot Learning Lab.
And we are so excited to get this episode out to you guys because we actually recorded this back in July when we were on our summer road trip. We did talk about them in one of our episodes on our summer road trip series, if you listen to those. But we met them back in July when we were driving through Ohio. I had been following them on Instagram for quite some time and realized that we were in the same city as them based off my Instagram looking. And I decided to message them, and it was really amazing. I'm really grateful that I messaged them because we ended up meeting up that night and having an amazing conversation, and we became friends, and I'm just like so supportive of what they're doing. So it is important to note that since this was in July, there have been some updates to Tenderfoot Learning Lab. They now have 16 acres of forest with a pond and a house. And starting in January, they're going to be taking reservations for retreats and workshops at their property. So keep that in mind as you listen to this interview, because it was recorded in July as things were still forming. So there's been some new and exciting creations since then.
Yeah, and it's awesome to hear that they have grown that much and succeeded in their mission of what they are doing in, I guess, such little time since we've talked to them. Like you said, it was in July, and now it's October here, so yeah, it's very cool to catch up with them. And after the interview here, which Sarah will get into, we'll just do a little recap and also catch you guys up on exactly what they're doing, where you can find them as well. So without further ado, here's our interview with Tenderfoot Learning Lab.
Tenderfoot was used to describe a young person learning a new trade, a tenderfoot.
Will be a study away location for college students to spend a semester immersed in sustainable living and growing our own food and producing our own energy and studying why that matters, our footprint on the world, and why it's important to have a light footprint.
We are in Ohio. We are in Athens, Ohio. I know you guys were also doing a thru hike on the Appalachian Trail, which you finished, was that in May?
Started in May.
You started last
May. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, and while you were doing that hike, you were doing something called a hike-a-thon, and you were raising money for this. So how did that go? Were you advertising this to thru hikers you met on the trail? What did that look like?
We did a lot of awareness, sort of advertising for it before we left, and so most of our sponsors came from friends, supporters, our network at home before we took off. But we did find donors along the way and new supporters as we hiked. We were sort of hiking we were just being a walking banner, I guess, for sustainable living. And if people were interested in that kind of conversation, then eventually we might talk about, we had shared values, we would talk about Tenderfoot.
Yeah, so at that point when you were hiking the trail, was it kind of still just a dream you had?
Tenderfoot?
Yeah, when you were hiking the trail.
When I met Lindsay, she had this idea. She didn't have the name Tenderfoot yet, but I believe that Lindsay has been working towards this idea for many, many years.
Well, it sounds like it. Online I also read you had a PhD in sustainability, so...
That's true. Yeah. And this idea actually was the impetus, was my motivation for getting the PhD, because I thought, if I want to lead a program in higher education, I should probably have the highest degree to have any credibility. So that was really the main driver.
Why did you guys want to do the Appalachian Trail for this hikeathon? What gravitated you towards doing the whole Appalachian Trail, and how was that? I mean, let's talk about that.
What are you doing, crazy people? Yeah. So I have always wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail after setting foot onto it in 2015. I did a small section, and we were talking about getting married, and I told her that before we do that, I would very much like to hike the Appalachian Trail before we quote-unquote start our life.
Yep.
How naive of me.
Little did you know your life was going to be tenderfoot on the trail, huh?
That's right. And she looked at me on the couch and she said, well, I'll do it with you if we cannot be selfish about it and make it a hikeathon and do it for this mission. And we figured out a way to do that, and so we got married in March
of
2018.
Okay.
And left 2 months later in May for a honeymoon hike.
A honeymoon hikeathon.
Almost a whole year hike.
That's right. Yeah, 7 months to the day is what we spent.
That's amazing. When I remember reading that Instagram post of your guys's, we went to Jasper National Park for our honeymoon, actually. And we did some backpacking and some 3-day backpacking.
And we called it a honey hike.
Yeah, we did.
I like that term.
Better, yeah.
But yeah, when you're on your honeymoon, there was times when I was just it was nice to go shower a couple times.
Yeah, there was not too many. There was less romance than we expected.
Yeah,
fact.
Did you guys ever want to give up on the trail? Were there ever days when you were just I can't take it anymore, I just need to go eat a burger and fries and call it quits? Was there ever a day like that?
No. We never did really discuss, and we later admitted to each other that we never really thought about quitting. We thought about burgers and fries.
Oh, for sure. Oh, man, in Maine, you guys are heading to Maine.
Yes.
Right? In Maine, there are so many vibrantly colored mushrooms of the whole rainbow spectrum, and they all looked like food to me.
Are any of them actually edible?
Don't eat them.
Don't eat them.
Highly poisonous, I'm sure. They were so vivid. But so we thought about burgers and fries and pizza and things that I would actually never eat in real life off the trail. But
when you're burning 7,000 calories a day,
right,
you're very food motivated.
Yeah. And so before this, had you guys done a lot of camping and hiking together, or was this your first go-to, the Appalachian Trail?
Pretty much. We did a lot of, not a lot of, 1 night out, 2 nights out. What was the longest we did out before the AT?
2.
I think it was 2 nights, yeah. And so...
That's pretty bold then, just to be we're going to through hike this trail. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, because we do 4-day backpacking trips pretty often, but I don't know that I'm built up yet to do a through hike on the Appalachian Trail. And I read about it all the time, and I dream about doing it. Yeah. But to hear that you guys didn't have a lot of experience doing it at all.
No, I mean, we had a year's worth of... Travis had done sections, long sections, but I had not. But we did extensive gear research, and yeah, lots of training our bodies. We partnered up with a student personal trainer who was, getting college credit for that, and so we did a lot of preparation. There is a great book that I highly recommend for any long-distance aspiring hiker. It's called Appalachian Trials, and it talks about the mental preparation. So you can prepare your body all day long, and you still might fall and break your leg. But what defeats most people is the mental part.
That mental, yes, it absolutely is. And, that's what I'm finding, even like when we've brought out friends and family backpacking on overnight trips, it's like they just need my little voice to encourage them that they can do it.
Yep.
And sometimes I need that voice from Andy, sometimes you just need that encouragement, that mental encouragement.
Yep.
It really is mind over body when you're out there.
It absolutely is.
But I still can't imagine doing that for the whole Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, well, and I had less experience, which is why maybe I went, relatively blind. I didn't have the reality to contend with in my brain. I was just finding out as I went, really.
Yeah, and you had a goal. You had Tenderfoot Learning Lab in mind, so you had a really strong purpose behind hiking it.
And we had told a lot of people that we were going to do this.
That's right.
We both accepted at that point that failure was not an option.
Yeah. There was a point, we were in the White Mountains, which is arguably the hardest section. It's in New Hampshire, and it's pretty rugged terrain. And I took a misstep. I realized I was off the trail, and so I just pivoted to go back. And I fell hard, and there was blood and instant bruising and throbbing pain.
Did you break anything, twist anything?
I didn't. I was sure that I was questioning if I had broken my arm, but I sobbed because I knew that if I had broken my arm, all that meant was that I was going to have to hike the White Mountains with a broken arm, because we were that committed to...
Because you weren't giving up.
We weren't quitting. If it was a leg, then we would take time off and come back to it. But, it's just an arm. I'm going to keep hiking, so... Yeah.
I love that attitude. Because it just shows that you aren't giving up no matter what.
No.
You're committed. You're going to go through it, even if there's going to be pains and aches along the way. But you were committed, and that's an amazing example of it.
Travis will tell you that there were days I wasn't kind about it. But we're happy about it.
And so when you guys got back, so you said you gave yourselves a couple months, and then you started finding where you wanted to live?
More or less.
She actually had a job interview on trail. So we had a secured living situation and income after the trail, which was really uncommon.
Yeah.
But it was a live-in residency at Antioch College in Yellow Springs.
So that's how we ended up there briefly. But the intention was always, we need some sort of income, some sort of stability. We were essentially, for all intents and purposes, homeless for 7 months. And so yeah, we secured that, and then, but always knew that we would be looking for something more permanent for Tenderfoot.
What's your day job then?
So I currently work, I just started here in Athens at Ohio University as the Director of Experiential Learning.
The director of it?
Yeah, it's a new position. It's a really exciting...
You have a lot on your plate, it sounds like.
Lots going on.
You have a lot going on. You're the director of something at a college, and you're creating this. Wow.
Yeah, but all really good work. Really important, fun stuff. So, and in a good place. So, the Ohio University is really seemingly under interesting, exciting leadership. The president has really put an emphasis on experiential education. That is the most powerful, transformative type of education, and so they've invested a lot of resources in making sure students have access to those experiences. And they're doing that as well as a focus on sustainability. And so I fit right in short order. Yeah. So it's a mission I can get behind, and people everywhere I meet say we want to get behind Tenderfoot's mission too. So how can we help? So it's been great.
Right. It's just like right up your alley to like connect with all those people, especially in a community that you're living in now.
Right.
And a community that supports sustainable living.
Yeah.
This is a very progressive area of Ohio.
Yeah. And it's interesting, we're in Appalachia, which has been important to us. So we really want to make education more accessible. And so one of the pieces we haven't actually mentioned of our mission is that accessibility, affordability of higher education. So all of the work that students will do on our farm will be in exchange for tuition. So we're trying to raise money to support scholarships for that semester. So it's a debt-free semester out of their 8th semester or 9 or 10.
Wow. That's like a lot of money to raise too.
It would be, yeah. But the interesting thing about homesteading and about students doing the work is that we don't have the overhead that a traditional institution would have, or a traditional study abroad or study away program would have. So our costs are a lot lower.
So your sustainability, like what do you bring to, like you're not sustainability, but obviously you're bringing a lot to Tenderfoot. Like what's your strength in?
So yeah, my strength I guess would be personnel skills and carpentry. So in theater, in 2006 when I graduated, the market was strong, and then in 2008 the recession hit, and I had to decide what else to do. Because theater jobs were few and far between. And what I ended up doing was working for an outdoor education place called Camp Joy. And it was a year-round facility that taught 6th to 8th grade students about the natural sciences. And so my passion is experiential education. Through working in the theater, I have carpentry skills that I bring to the table, but mostly a passion for experiential education.
Yeah, and a real strong love for sustainability.
Yeah.
It's just
true.
a personal ethos.
So are you going to be the one to like show some of the students carpentry?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that Lindsay will need to maintain her day job for quite a while. So the agreement between us is that I will be the nuts and bolts of Tenderfoot while the students are actually working on the farm.
And a day in the life will look something like 3 work teams in the morning. So you're on one of 3, so infrastructure or food as in production, or food as in cooking, preparing our meals, sustaining us throughout each day. And so they'll work through the morning on whatever team, and Travis will manage those work teams. And then in the afternoons take classes that really delve into why all of this matters and how does it relate to your own major and your own career aspirations and life aspirations and the kind of citizen you want to be. And so myself and other visiting faculty will hopefully teach those classes. So that'll be, and then evening reflection and recreation time.
Also, it sounds like you were doing some traveling in developing countries. What countries did you travel to in that experience?
Sure. So my bachelor's degree is in Spanish, and I was a high school Spanish teacher for a while in a previous life. But I traveled mostly to Spanish-speaking countries, but I've never been to Spain. All of my travel has been to Central and South America. So I spent the most time in Costa Rica and Puerto Rico and Honduras. But I've been to most of Latin America. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, we were actually recently in Costa Rica, not for experiencing the developing country. We went to a all-inclusive resort actually for a wedding, but I wish we would have had the experience. We were off the resort a little bit and drove through some of the developing countries, but I wish we would have had more time to spend there.
Yeah.
Was there anything that impacted you the most when you were in Costa Rica from what you saw?
So these resorts and things are popping up increasingly, and it makes me a little sad, but they really do protect. They might be one of the nations, you should fact check me, but one of the nations that have given rights to nature. They value their natural resources, and not just as to some degree as tourist
Yeah.
dollars, but
Well, yeah, and you can tell
because
because we did stay at an Airbnb there the weekend before we were at the resort. We did go to an Airbnb that was in, I can't think of the name of it right now.
It was the Santa Maria Volcano Lodge.
Yes. And you could tell that that little community was very sustainable in the way they use things, because the lodge that we were at, it was actually a farm as well. Like, there was cows that they were milking on it, and they were making their own cheese, and it was also a plantain farm and a coffee farm.
Yeah, they had
And-
like a restaurant,
Yeah.
and we ate there, and they said it was 90% locally sourced. They even had
amazing.
villagers from the community of 200, I think they said, around. They would come in every so often and be like, I'm out of eggs, can I grab some eggs? And they don't charge anyone for them because they also get some of their ingredients from the local villagers too, so it's kind of like
It's
here,
symbiotic.
give and take type of thing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so seeing those relationships in that part of Costa Rica was like really heartwarming to me, and it is a very beautiful thing. Yeah, but then as far as other travel, is there any other countries that like really stood out to you in sustainability and that movement at all?
So the other place that I've traveled that was most impactful was India, northern India, rural India. There is a woman, her name is Dr. Vandana Shiva, and she has a PhD in nuclear physics, but she famously said that after spending all of that time getting those degrees, that the world doesn't need nuclear physics, it needs farmers and food. And she's concerned about a global crisis of peak oil and what that will do to food security globally, in particular her home country of India. And so she has an educational farm, and I was fortunate to go and stay there for a 3-week class and got to see a lot of the infrastructure pieces that we hope to use at Tenderfoot. A methane gas digester, a solar cooker, a variety of different kinds of solar cookers, outdoor showers that are solar heated, just a variety of cool things. So.
And part of that infrastructure is going to cater to a lot of different disciplines that undergraduate students are going through. So we are very happy to house engineers, educators, nurses, and so on and so on.
Yeah, when you think about basically recreating or just having daily life, all of the systems that support our daily lives, they are very interdisciplinary. So it makes sense there is learning to be had for any discipline.
Absolutely. And just like that, they're going to be learning it from just such a simple form.
Right.
Like, I just think our world is always so caught up in the go and the technology and like the instant gratification of going to a grocery store and grabbing like a bag of chips or a candy bar. But it's like just learning the simplicities of what you guys are talking about is what a lot of humans in this world need to go back to, and that's what's going to ground people. And that's something that us, like at Hiking Through Life, find so empowering and gratifying about camping and hiking and being outdoors in the nature, is just the fact that you are separated from all that. And when you're outside just hiking on a path for hours and hours, you realize you don't really need much else in this world. You have it all around you. You have it all on your back when you're when you're doing that.
And the more you know, the less you need. The less you need to carry, and it's empowering.
Why did you guys pick Athens, Ohio?
To be frank and honest, a job, an income, but we were really picky about where we applied for jobs, and so.
And was this right after you got off of the trail?
Right. Yes. We went and lived in Yellow Springs, Ohio, which is also a fairly liberal, let's call it, town, little funky town in Ohio. So we lived there briefly when we got off the trail. But we wanted to live in the Appalachian region, and in Ohio, we are from here, and I grew up in an Appalachian County of Ohio, and so I experienced firsthand that skepticism for education and the survivalist lifestyle that just really requires getting a job and getting to work. And so I wanted to specifically serve this area.
Yeah, and I can tell that, like, just driving through this area is very progressive because, like I was saying earlier, the brewery that we went to, Little Fish Brewery, advertise that they support local nonprofits. They get all of their ingredients from local sources. They have a map in the brewery, actually, and they've pinned all of the places that they've got their ingredients.
Nice.
And I picked up a lot of, like, great little brochures about this town. I love going into breweries and just local places and grabbing brochures and reading about it. So it's just totally that, like, nice homey feel in that brewery. And I'm sure there's tons of areas in this town that are like that.
Yeah. And, you know, and that's a hallmark of Appalachia. You know, it's community driven and based, and there's skepticism for big business and corporatization and so on. And so there's still a community feel to really anywhere you'll go in the Appalachian region, which I love. It's a blue collar value. But yeah, they're doing it really extra great here in Athens. So.
Yeah, and we're when we go up east more, I know we're gonna, like, go to Vermont, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of those towns up there. Everyone helps out everyone there. They, like, trade all their goods. Like, money's not really a thing there. It's just like, I'll work and then I'll give you jam, you know? Like, it's just that great little, like, trade.
Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really helps us see that we're interconnected. Like, we are interdependent, and which is a core principle of sustainability, how all things, economic systems and social systems and environmental systems, count on each other. And so when you trade direct things and not just money, it makes that much more obvious. So it's a cool system.
Well, everyone shares something that, you know, they have an expertise in. You get everyone from multiple disciplines together, and then you have that community, and then you have something that is self-sustaining. It's very empowering, and it's, I think, very confident boosting for those that are involved with it too.
Absolutely. Can I tell you a mini story? I'll
Yes.
try to keep it brief. So we did this pilot of our program, and we had just the greatest bunch of students.
I saw pictures of that on your website. They were, like, holding up some dough of some sort, it looked like.
Yeah, that was pizza making. Yeah, so it was just an interesting group who represented all sorts of different walks of life, and would probably not, it was like the Breakfast Club. They would not have chosen to be together.
Yes.
Except they all chose this experience. And so there was one young man who was socially awkward, you know, talked about he was very aware of that, but not quite sure how to fix it, and talked a lot about it. And he was leaving. They were heading off into the world around dinner time, and I said, well, what are your dinner plans? And he said, I think I'm going to go home and I'm going to cook dinner for my mom. And I said, oh, cool. What will you make? And he was like, I don't know, but you know what? This is the first time ever in my whole life that I've been able to cook for my mom or anybody. But she always cooks for me, and I'm going to cook for her. And it melted my heart. He felt empowered and proud of himself.
That's amazing.
And he was going to do what he wanted to do with that new knowledge was something nice for someone else.
That's amazing. And this was a college student.
Yes, a college senior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who gained that skill within, it was a week, you said?
It was a week-long program, yeah.
And it would be so cool to follow up to him now and see what he's cooking now and what he's doing now.
It would be very nice
I'd love to know.
But yeah, I mean, it's stories like that are going to keep people going.
Yes, yeah.
And keep us motivated to keep doing what we love. I mean, you guys are doing what you love. We are doing what we love. And there's always motivation that you need. I mean, there's always those times when you're just like, well, I could just go back to my job. And I mean, I guess I still do work. There's you're loving what you're doing so far.
Yeah, so
We're
far,
just not
yeah.
making money yet.
We know the feeling.
Yes. Yes.
The startup phase is scary and brave and beautiful and beautifully imperfect. So kudos to you guys for doing it.
And so you're still doing full-time work.
True.
And Travis, you are kind of committed to doing a full-time day job at Tenderfoot. Is that how it's working?
That's pretty much how it's working. The work just keeps adding up.
For Tenderfoot.
For Tenderfoot,
Yeah.
as we keep moving forward and sometimes blundering through and
As the tender feet
and,
that we
and
are.
doing
Yeah.
it the Tenderfoot way.
So let's talk about that. How are you like managing that and just keeping calm a little bit as all this is kind of exploding?
I'm not going to say we do that every day. The calm part.
No.
This is work, all of the work that I'm doing right now, and Travis, you can disagree if you feel differently, but is nourishing and feeds my soul. So
I agree with that.
yeah, awesome. And that's the way.
So it's kind of like the quote, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And there's some really administrative pieces that I don't love that I hope to someday have a really excited board member take on. But yeah, I mean, it's all in service of what we care a lot about and our values and things that we think the world needs right now. You know, some skills and ways of thinking that we think could benefit our global communities. So,
100%.
I mean, it really is possible if you are patient enough and have any knowledge of that's even a possibility.
Yep.
Then it's so amazing the things that you can find and do and the people who have
Yes.
skills that you can also
I think the
team
people
up with.
too, I think it's because when you find other people who are like-minded like you, that's when you're feeding energy off of them to keep being motivated to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for the listeners as far as where they can get more information about Tenderfoot Learning Lab or how they can get connected to you?
Yeah. So Instagram, we are Tenderfoot Learning Lab on Instagram and on Facebook. Our website is,
Tenderfootlearninglab.org.
and those are the primary ways.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys, for being on our podcast today.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much for
having
the
us.
invitation.
As you can tell in our interview, we had a really good time connecting and meeting with Lindsay and Travis. They're just the type of people that you talk to and you're inspired by them. And they're just very kind-hearted people. The next morning after that interview, we sat with them at their front doorstep and enjoyed cups of coffee for like 2 hours, just sharing laughs and conversations and trail stories.
I did do a little fact checking. In Costa Rica, they have over 5% of the world's biodiversity in their little country in Central America. And over 25% of their land is either national parks or protected lands. And they also, in the late 90s, 1998, passed a law, the Biodiversity Act, which basically protects a lot of their lands from being over-harvested in rainforest cuts and stuff like that. And it protects a lot of their endangered species as well. So they are very progressive in their protections of their natural resources and habitat within the country.
Yeah, Costa Rica is a really awesome place. Definitely on our places of must visit again. So I hope you enjoyed the interview with them as much as we did. And starting in January, they're going to be taking reservations for retreats and workshops at their property. And we hope that you will check them out and follow their journey with Tenderfoot Learning Lab.
Yeah, and you can check them out again at tenderfootlearninglab.org.
You've been listening to the Hiking Through Life podcast. Peace, love, and hike through life.